welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel. I'm my guest today. I'm so excited for this one. A dominatrix based in Montreal, Venyx, really keen in MedFed, but also super interesting person. And my friend, Venyx. Knows Venyx. Thanks for coming to the podcast today.
Thank you, Israel, and happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Yeah, I mean, you have this whole list of things you do and are interested in. So I'm curious, which one did you start with? Like, what was the first thing you were really keen to, or should I say, like your introduction into the world of kink?
Mm, that's a good question. When I was first attracted to BDSM and the world of kink, it wasn't necessarily an activity. It was more like the DS dynamics, like the power dynamics and play with the psychology of dominance and submissive. This is what fascinated me the most. But onwards, if there's an activity, I would probably say impact play. Like I really get in a zone, and yes, I really love impact play.
So for, I guess, people that are checking out the episode and are not well versed in the lifestyle, could you break down, explain some of these terms?
Sure. So I'm a pro Dom, and I've been trained in the classical arts of domination, and I've had various mentors along the way. And with BDSM and having a kink lifestyle, there are some facets of it that is more professional, where clients come and see me, and often it's more secretive that they come and see me, and it's a pro session that's like in a very safe container, and we explore their dark fantasies and their fetishes, but mostly it's a place for them to be themselves and authentic, because often they can't really show their true selves. And then there's people who assume more the lifestyle, who are more into the kink lifestyle, and they'll go in munches and they're more social about it. There's many different communities, especially in bigger cities, that revolve around kink. Like here in Montreal, there's a really big rigger community that's with the tying and shibari arts, and then you also have a hypno community, and the kink spectrum can go so large. It can go also with like the littles, the people who are in age play, the people who are in sharps, like needles. So it really, there's so many things, and I think it depends on the communities in different cities, and the power dynamics that are common in BDSM, where it's always consensual, of course, where there's one party that's more dominant and the other one more submissive, and that depends on the dynamic that they pre-establish prior. So that can mean many different things to different people.
How did you come to identify yourself as a dom?
Like in terms of my dominance, or my
Mm-hmm.
la like my authority or my dominance part of
Yes.
myself that
Yes.
I would identify. I wouldn't say that's a huge part of myself. Um, I I think that it comes out in my play, like more naturally. Something that's still very caring. It's important in a DS energy, in a DS dynamic, because without the authority figure, the authority image, like you won't really take the dominatrix seriously. Like imagine a school principal or a police officer that has no authority. Like you just won't take that person. Like there's consequences that that person will establish, and a container of rules that makes the play more sacred. So I feel like in this container of being a dominatrix, the authority figure is definitely like a baseline of it. That you go see a dominatrix because it's soothing to that person that there's order.
Mm. And then I guess walk me through someone goes on your page and are like, I'm interested. Actually, you have like med and worship and like learning French. I'm curious about that one. But anyway, they pick one of the strengths and they're like, okay, I'm interested in this one. What happens from there?
Well, on my website, I do have 4 sections. I'm very multifaceted, and especially with ADHD, I always have like so many projects on the go. And right now, I'm really enjoying still like my MedFet branding that I kind of took a natural direction into. It was just like very natural for me to get into this nurse persona,
Mm.
but I also really enjoy worship because there's a lot of foot fetishists out there. So I also offer that like as a session on its own. As for my French class, that I haven't been able to dive in completely because I don't have as much time, but I'm really, really excited for this project. Is more an online project on loyal fans where I want to give proper, like real French classes, like with vocabulary and French syntax and how to communicate with locals with my femdom twist.
But like, so when I guess submissive reaches out to you, say they're interested in like the MedFet, for instance, what happens from there on out?
Well, on the website, and as for many pro doms, you have the process of application. So they fill out an application where I have a lot of questions that have intention behind, where I can sense the psychology behind like where why they're attracted to this kind of energy or um activity, and if they have prior experience and what their limits are. Usually the application goes in that direction, like what ticks them and what excites them, but also their limits. I also love to know why and when this kink came into their lives because a lot of the time the stories come from a very tender age where they started having a fascination with this kink or fetish, and I just love to dive in even deeper knowing where it stems from. When the person arrives at the dungeon, there's a protocol to follow. They need to get on their knees and give me the tribute. And usually they're very eager and nervous and anxious. And I like to review the application form before diving into play.
So the form lets them in, the meet, and then even in person, that form is still kind of discussed before anything even starts, right?
Yes, like only if it's a client that I've known for a while and we can like dive in like when they come, but I like to ease into it and form a mood. Usually they shower like to freshen up, and it calms them down and gets them in a better state of mind for the session. So there's still like had I've had somebody come in the door who it was his first time in a session, and right when he entered the door he was like, "I don't do anal. I don't want anything in my butt." I'm like, "Don't like I'm not gonna shove anything without your consent, like, don't worry, like, this is not how it works." So there is a yes, there is a part where it's like you ease in and you ease out after at the end with the aftercare, because often clients get into this transcendental state. It's like an altered state of mind that you we call a subspace in the community, and you won't just send them off in that subspace. Like you calm them down and you bring them back into a grounded state. So there's like a process of easing in and easing out of the session and the play.
Mm. Okay. You mentioned a few things that I'll guess I'll need some breakdown on.
Okay.
Um, kink, you've kind of mentioned kink and fetish. Is it the same? Is it interchangeable? Are there any differences between them?
Yes, I mean, I do want to explain it in the best of my capacity. I'm sure there's even more thorough definitions that people can give, but shortly, I'd say that a fetish can often come more as a fixation on something, and you get like an eroticized reaction. So, for instance, like a very classical one is a foot fetish. A foot fetish is not always a shoe fetish, but often. And they're very particular about their fetish. Sometimes it's a leather fetish and everything, and then it can go even deeper than leather. It can be leather boots and or leather gloves. And one of my dom sisters, Mistress Natasha Jocasta, leather fetishist and the leather gloves. And then of course you have your latex fetishist, where it gets this like sexual like reaction, like it just heightens them. So I could name so much more, like the fetishes. It's more like the reaction from it, whether they live it on their own at home because it's something that isolates them. For some instance, like certain people in relationships, or they're married and their wives or partner, they find it gross that they have a foot fetish. Well, you can't really turn that stuff out. You can't really ignore it. You need to express it somehow. And then there's other people who live their fetishes in communities, like the latex fetishist, who enjoy the ritual together of putting it on. So this is how I would describe a fetish. As for a kink, it doesn't have to be uh like sexualized. I see kink more like an activity. To be sexual with people is extremely intimate, but then I can express my sexuality with different play partners in BDSM and still experience such a deep, intimate connection without necessarily getting sexual with them. And this is why BDSM was so transformative for me. One of the reasons, because you can express different kinks and
Mm,
fetishes, and you apply the rules and that safe container.
mm. Yeah, I
I
mean,
hope that answers.
oh no, it does. So one, I guess to me, like from what you're saying, fetish is almost like you can't help yourself, but kink is more like play in a way.
Yeah, yeah, I would say it like this. Like, and it's so fascinating to meet people because and hear their stories. And this is why I put it into my application, because whether it's like kink or fetish, when you're denied of something,
Mm,
it only makes you want it more.
mm,
And there are so many things that, for instance, in this with the patriarchy in our society, even in Canada, that's like more progressive, it likes to be said. And we have more equal gender roles. Even here in the West, uh, where like feminism have a big have a big talk and place in society. you still have so many men that feel ashamed of being vulnerable and playing that part of submissive and wanting to let go of the very high pressure of having to take a leadership role and taking the decision. And only that, it becomes a fetish. Because for one, they can't express their submissive side. So seeking that solace and peaceful acceptance from a dominant woman where she's the one in control, it offers such freedom for them to just get on their knees and get into that headspace where they actually can let go of making the decisions is so freeing. And for two, like women being conditioned as well to be more submissive and living a life almost of servitude, well, that role of a dominant woman, it gets fetishized because it's like the paradox of what we are not meant to be, like in
mm,
the eyes of society. So there's also that part that gets fetishized. So a lot of the men that go see a pro dom very often, like there's the cliche of having men who are in like higher position, but sometimes it's not about their work or like profession. It can just be like the alpha gym bro who plays that part, and really he just can't wait to have that safe space, and he doesn't tell anybody that he's
mm,
going to see a pro dom. I love to ask them, like, does anybody know you're here? And often they don't tell anyone.
mm,
And yeah, that this is like like one of the parts sometimes it's in it. Like for me, the medfet thing, it was just in it. I don't even know where it came from. I had a very early fascination with the doctor's office, but yeah, I could go on and on about it because that's what fascinates me is the
mm,
psychological story behind the fetish and the kinks and understanding where it stems from. So
mm,
sometimes it's just in it, it just pops out. It like they saw a women's pedicure when they were younger, and then boom, they have a fetish with feet, like pampering feet and everything to do with feet. And other time it's like it was frowned upon. This
mm,
kind of kink, like it became a kink because it was so frowned upon, and they developed a fetish and a fixation around it.
The other thing that you mentioned that I want to get a little bit, you mentioned tributes. Can you talk a bit more about that?
About tributes?
Mm.
Sure. Do you mean like
No, I guess
presents?
what are tributes? Because you mentioned like they exchange the tribute. Like what are tributes?
Like let you know there's two different ways you can look at it. There's one is like a gift as or an exchange, and then the other way is that at least in Canada, there is domination. Yes, it is sex work, but it gets into this blurry line, right? Of like how much it gets like with the legal system. And
Oh, oh, right, right,
so
right, right, right.
so it feels safer to say the tribute is, instead of saying like this sexual act, although in traditional classical femdom there's no penetrative sex, but or like unless it's pegging, but it feels safer to say that it's a tribute instead of like this act will be this amount of money and dollars. So I
Mm,
think the tribute is a safer way to express what's the exchange. But there's also another way of seeing it as an exchange where in servitude and lifestyle doms, There's DOMs that it's not necessarily about the pro dom or having sessions. It's more like you do something for me, and you're a servitude sub. So you get to my place and you clean, and there's protocol. There's lifestyle doms that get into that, and they still expect tribute because it's not that the sub is, well, I'm already cleaning your house, so what do I get in exchange? No, you already have a safe space to be yourself, to be authentic. The dom doesn't owe you play. So I see it as you're if the sub comes inside the dom's house to clean, first of all, it's extremely private,
Mm,
and if the dom doesn't owe them anything, as in for play,
mm,
actually they should come with a tribute on top of doing the service, because
mm,
they're doing the service. They have they have a safe space to express their kinky selves, and it just goes with the traditional like femdom vibe of it with the protocol. And it doesn't have to be a big tribute. Like it
mm,
can be like you arrive with a small grocery for the day, or you give a little gift, as in flowers, or you ask the dom if she needs anything. Because if you're the service sub, well, does she have all of the cleaning products? Maybe they bring the cleaning products. So the tribute doesn't have to be a big gesture, but for me, it's very symbolic that you're gifting the dom a tribute, a gift of what you can afford, because it's not the dom giving you a. It's not that you're giving a service to the dom. Like it's not you. Like tu lui rends pas service. Like she's actually the one qu'elle te rend service. Like you're doing the service, but you have a safe space to be your play to be yourself, and that is
mm,
priceless.
I see exactly what you mean. Excuse me. I say exactly what you mean. So, I guess for you, you've mentioned like ADHD and how kink has been good for your health. In what way?
Oh my goodness, in so many ways. I'm sure I could ask you this question. Like there's a lot of neurodivergent people in kink, and when people are particular about like their brains and their way they live their lives, of course they're going to be particular about their sexuality and what ticks them,
So I
right?
would, for someone that I guess is new or willing to explore and try the fetish or kinks that they might have, what advice would you have for them?
I would hope that they're in a city or town that has like already con- um community based classes and groups. I think that in many cities, it doesn't have to be big, but like to seek out the communities that's already there,
Mm,
whether it's munches, which is a casual gathering that is not meant for play, and like munches are is just to meet people, and you don't have to dress in kink. Often it's like in a coffee shop or a picnic or a bar, and it makes it very accessible. Fet Life is a great platform to begin with, although you can definitely have a rabbit hole, and there's definitely predatory and creepy profiles out there. But following consent classes is 101, because in the vanilla setting, you think that you know about consent. You always hear about consent these days, but in the BDSM realm, it means different things and different spectrum of play. So this is absolute 101. Like you think you know about consent? No, you should definitely begin to take classes, and especially men. I think that vanilla men have a harder time understanding what consent means. And in Montreal, there's great classes on consent. If there's none in your city, then there's Consent Academy that you can find their classes and their platform via FetLife. But Consent Academy is amazing, and it doesn't even have to be around kink. So I've taken some classes by Consent Academy, and they make so many references, even in the vanilla world, of how to have the conversation, how to set boundaries, and code of conduct. So, Consent Academy is a great online platform that you can just take classes from your computer online. And then it would be to see what ticks you. Like as a beginner kinkster, like, are you interested by rope? Are you interested by role play? Like, whatever is like immersive, like medfet and like school and interrogation. There's a lot of role playing in there. Of course, impact play is super fun. And then there's also like chastity and those kind of games, like with chastity cages. So there's a lot of things that you can explore on your own before to see what you relate to. And then after, it's like meeting people and creating connections and seeing what's healthy around you. And for me, one of the first one was the hypno community. I just went to a workshop, and then I loved it so much, and I have really close connections now with one of the teachers, Mistress Amber Jade, who's an amazing hypno teacher and hypno dom. And it's just to go from there. You meet people and you create connections.
Mm. Okay. You mentioned consent and you talked about it for a while, but if you want to simplify it, how would you explain consent to the lay person, to the vanilla person?
It's unfortunately, I feel like, especially in the vanilla world, for men, and this is when I was saying earlier that women have this, we are off, I think many women can relate that we are raised and conditioned into like serving and also being very passive. And I rarely go to vanilla events or clubs, let's say. It will happen like once a year when I go with my girlfriends that like want to go out, and I'm always so shocked how people behave in the vanilla club, that they go behind you, they don't even ask you if you want to dance, they just grind themselves up against you. And when you say no or reject them, you get reactions that are like angry. And they think that somehow you owe it to them, or they don't understand where they went wrong. And to me, that is so gross. It's just 101. It's just the basic that you should ask people first and make a connection. So, this is where it goes wrong. Firstly, like, how many women have been groped and being catcalled, and like these things have a lot more discussions these days, so that's really good. But in the BDSM realm, oh my goodness, it can go so deep. And of course, I've done my mistakes, because this is where people go wrong. You think you know about consent, but whatever kink activity you go in, you should inform yourself on what you can or cannot do, because it's not the same in shibari than it will be in hypno, for instance. And the deeper you go into edge play, where it gets very dangerous, hypno, you think like, oh, there's no needles, there's no, like, it won't cause a bruise, you can really affect someone in their psyche. So hypno counts as edge play. And this is why it was banned off so many platforms. They don't allow hypno anymore because they saw how harmful it can get. But consent in shibari is different. And there were trends of consent in the 2000s. And it was like, if you get into play, you should know what you get yourself into. The opt-ins, opt-outs, and that is so 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 misleading because it's impossible to know everything. So let's say you're the bottom and you get tied up, and then you would get somebody that would decide to like play with you and touch you in places that you don't consent to. But oh, it's too late, you're now tied up, you should have known what you got yourself into. These were the old talks like 20 years ago that obviously did a lot of harm. So you have to establish very clear boundaries before. And for hypno, consent is so, so large. And this is where you can easily make mistakes. So, for instance, I was in a play, in a like this play party that was guided, like a guided hypno jam and practice for our hypno skills. So I was topping somebody and everyone else was watching. And after that, we get feedback. And I think that like I brought the person in a hypnotic state where they would be like floaty and getting into the clouds. And if there were birds in the sky, that was a big no-no because I had not pre-negotiated the talk about birds. So you have like it goes so large to talk about consent, and it gets very specific in different realms. Like in MedFet, well, you should know the status of that person. When's the last time they got tested? Because if you're going to draw blood, you have to know this side of this person. So it's very very large in different aspects of it, and this is why and definitions continue to change. So there are specific people in the community that give consent classes, and the definitions keep changing. So that's why it's like you don't take it for granted. You keep educating yourself, and when you go in a different community, you also check their guidelines. And when I went to Dublin, even though on my profile it looks like I'm more experienced, I went to a munch and they still had me go through all the etiquette and the rules. And I was very, very impressed by the community in Dublin to be like very focused on consent, because it should be the guideline to make it not only a physically safe environment, but very emotionally and psychologically safe environment for play.
I want to say, uh, Goddess Venyx, thank you so much for sharing so much about your work and everything you do. But to let you go, where can people check out your work?
Well, thank you so much, Israel, for the time that you gave me today. And if people want to check me out, I hope in the future, whenever people listen to this, I will not be banned on Instagram. So let's just hope that. But it's Goddess Phoenix everywhere. Goddess Venyx on Instagram. I'm also doing French for Kink, which is my French program on Instagram. And I'm not really active on X, but I'm on there. I'm on FetLife, and I also have my own website where if you're around Montreal, you can also send an application for a session.